Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And have you ever seen breaking news? The Las Vegas Raiders just traded for insert player name there. Well, guess what? I got 5 trades coming up right now on the show that would be breaking news worthy. So think of this as breaking news Las Vegas Raiders trade ideas to land a defensive end. And the reason why it's only for a defensive end is because Dianna Russini, she said earlier this week, maybe it's last week at this point, that the Raiders are looking for a Chandler Jones replacement. So you're going to see a bunch of different trade ideas that I have cooked up for you guys today. So just have an idea. And all the trades that you see, I have reached out to some sources. I have also talked to some people from the opposing teams that you will see up here. And these are trades based on the value of the current NFL market. Some of y'all are going to like the deals, some of y'all aren't. But guess what? The NFL trade deadline, October 31st at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be live for that. Got some games leading up to it. It sounds like the Raiders are going to be buyers more than what they're going to be selling up to the deadline. If you want more Raiders content, daily videos, weekly live shows all year long, when the Raiders win, you're not going to find another YouTube channel out there that celebrates the way we do. You're also not going to find a YouTube channel that probably just screams at the top of their lungs when they lose. But guess what? It's the passion that I love about the nation, and we're going to keep you guys up to date. That I can promise you. All right, let's go to the very first Raiders defensive end trade target here, Danielle Hunter of the Minnesota Vikings. So I reached out to a source in Minnesota, and I said, yo, give me an idea here of how much it's going to cost to go out and trade for Danielle Hunter. He said, well, when you look at some of his numbers from the past seasons, they're pretty damn impressive. 2022, he's got 65 tackles, 10.5 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. Did have a wicked neck injury in 2020, which forced him unable to play, but he's still one of the better defensive ends in the league, and the Minnesota Vikings, let's face it, they're not trending in the right direction. Now with Justin Jefferson injured, this is going to be a team that is going to be selling. So I reached out to my Vikings guy, and I said, yo, what is it going to cost to get Danielle Hunter in the silver and black? This is the trade he gave me. Raiders received Danielle Hunter. The Minnesota Vikings get a 2024 second-round pick. What I want to know from every trade that you see here, if you're watching this live, let me know who wins. If it's the Raiders, type Raiders. If you think it's the Vikings, type the Vikings. But I need to know down in the comments which trades you're talking about for the video that's going out at a later date. Let's go to the next trade target here by the silver and black. It's Brian Burns. And to me, the top 2 guys that the Raiders should call about are Danielle Hunter and Brian Burns. I mean, they're going to be the most pricey. There's no doubt about that. Burns is a dude that, honestly, the Raiders should have already had if they would have listened to my draft advice a few years ago. But, hey, it is what it is, right? 63 tackles with the Carolina Panthers last season, 12.5 sacks, 17 tackles for loss. He is one of the best young edge rushers in the league. And I'll tell you, I would love to see Max Crosby and Brian Burns next to each other. It would be electric. So I reached out to an NFL executive, and they told me there's no way you're going to get Brian Burns if there's not a first-round pick involved. However, I look at the report from Dianna Russini, and I know some people inside that Raiders organization, they're not going to trade their first-round pick. They're not going to do it. With the amount of great quarterbacks that are out there, with the fact that the Raiders thought about trading up for C.J. Stroud, they thought about trading up to the number 1 overall pick, so you know that they're looking at a QB. They will not give up their first-round pick in 2024. So, with that being said, Hunter Renfrow, 2 second-round picks in 2024 and 2025. Personally, I think the Carolina Panthers say no to this, but I'm not giving up a first for Brian Burns. They probably want a little bit more, and I know Raider fans are probably freaking out, but honestly, it's not going to be enough for Carolina, but it's what I would offer them for Burns. Coming up here, 3 more blockbuster Raiders trade ideas and all edge rushers that would help out this team. No freaking doubt about it, man. Before I show you those trades, I wouldn't trade Prize Picks for anything. These guys are an amazing sponsor, and anybody that's willing to support me doing what I love, I hope you guys go out and you support them as well, because they are a big reason why the show like this continues to grow. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. Prize Picks is the most fun that I've had, winning up to 25 times my money this football season. You select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. The deals and the picks that I'm making for this upcoming week, I took Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. I took the more on them because their offense right now, it's cooking. And for a lot of y'all that live out there in the Bay, I'm sure that you can see that it's cooking too. For Amari Cooper, I'll always take less. So that's my analysis on that one. PrizePicks.com/CLNS is how you can get started. And I have no idea why more people don't really try to do this. I promise you, though, you're going to have a lot of fun, even if you're not all that interested in the game. So go to PrizePicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for first deposit match up to $100. That link's going to be available to you guys down in the comments and in the description of today's show. Let's go to the next name here, and it's Frank Clark. For those of you that are watching this live, I know I already talked about Clark here a little bit. For those that aren't watching live, remember, we go live every single Thursday for Thursday Night Football. But Clark is a player that, I get it, he's on the Denver Broncos, and he's on a division rival team. But to me, I look at a guy like the Denver Broncos, and I look at Frank Clark, and I look at it as a yard sale. And yeah, I don't really go to many yard sales anymore because there's not many in Dallas, Texas. But growing up, man, in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, I was always at a yard sale with my mother. Why? You could get things at a discount. And free, he's not going to be free. But discounts, I'm about it. And right now, the Denver Broncos are just trying to yard sale. They're trying to get rid of everything. They're trying to get some draft capital. And you can get Clark at a major discount. So I looked at the Randy Gregory deal. I kind of formulated it around that. I talked to our Broncos guy here at Chat Sports, and I said, what would you want for him? He said, 6th-round pick, and he's yours. Sounds good to me. If I can replace Chandler Jones with a 6th-round pick for this upcoming or next draft, I would definitely consider it. I still got 2 more trades to get into here on the show, but I want you to name a defensive end that you believe that the Raiders should trade for. There's a lot of names out there, a lot of different names, and I'm sure some of the names that you're seeing are on here, right? Like on this show. But I want you to name a defensive end that the Raiders should try to go out and trade for. Let's go to the next name here. It's Carl Lawson at defensive end. And Lawson had a really bad Achilles injury last season with the New York Jets. And the 2 reasons why I would consider going out and getting him is before the injury, he was absolutely insanely good. This year, he's been a healthy scratch the last 2 games. And if you hear healthy scratch the last 2 for a player that's making the amount of money that Lawson is making, that tells me that he's about to be traded away, and it's not going to cost them a lot of money. On top of that, the Raiders play the Jets, and if I can get an inside scoop on a team that I'm going to be going up against Week 10 Sunday Night Football, I don't think it's a bad idea. So my trade idea here for Carl Lawson is this. I'm going to give them Greg Van Roten. They just lost Elijah Vera Tucker for the season. He also tore his Achilles. You're going to throw in a 6th-round pick in 2024, and you get Carl Lawson, when healthy, is a really damn good edge rusher. But then, with our offensive line, I'm going to kick Jermaine Illuminor in at guard. You put Thayer Munford in there at right tackle. And then with Greg Van Roten gone, sure, you have a little bit less depth on the overall offensive line position. But the Raiders have some good guys that I believe that they could potentially call up. Would have been nice to have McClendon Curtis. Let's go to the final deal here. It's Montez Sweat. And I talked to a source with the Washington Commanders, and I said, what do you want for Chase Young? He responded with me, he goes, you're not going to get Chase Young. The Chase Young trade rumors are BS. The player that is more likely to be dealt from the Commanders is Montez Sweat. So I said, all right, fair enough. Not going to cost me as much, but Sweat's still a hell of a player, man. 19 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks this season. Last year, 8 sacks. If you want a player that I'm telling y'all right now, Raider Nation would love, and I loved Montez Sweat when he was first coming out of college, player that I wanted the Raiders to draft. And in fact, I have a video of my top players that I wanted the Raiders to draft. And unfortunately, yet again, they did not listen to me. So my deal that I have coming up here for Montez Sweat, and you're going to see, this is a deal that I asked our Commanders source, I'll put it like that, and I said, what would you want? Like, what type of deal is intriguing to you? And his first deal that he hit me with was basically like Josh Jacobs and Malcolm Kuntz and a 2nd-round pick for Brian Robinson and Montez Sweat. I said, I don't really want Brian Robinson, so take Jacobs out of the equation, take them out. What would you want? He goes, I would want Malcolm Kuntz and a 2nd-round pick for Montez Sweat. I get that Kuntz's pressure rate has been a lot higher which I like to see. He's trending in the right direction, but also, like, again, if I can get a young dude like Montez who works his freaking tail off and has always shown that he's going to be a hard-working guy, you put that with Max Crosby, and now we have a premier young edge rushing duo. All right, I'm going to roll through these trade ideas one more time, and if you could, please let me know which one is your favorite. As you'll see at the very, very top, it'll say Mitch trade idea number 1. If number 2 is your favorite idea, watch this. All you got to do is type 2. If you like the Frank Clark trade the most, I need you to type 3. If you like the deal that's going down with the New York Jets, giving up Greg Van Roten, type 4. Or if you like the one with the Washington Commanders and going out and getting Montez Sweat, I want you to type 5. If you're like, Mitch, I don't like any of these trade ideas, well, how about this? Step up to the plate here. I'm not going to be mad if you don't like them. That's fine. I like when people disagree with me. I think it's better. Makes the show more fun. I want you to either tweet at me or comment down below what your trade ideas would be for a defensive end. Sound good? I hope so. Let me know. Give me a follow on IG and on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. And for those of you watching live, I'm about to be banging right now with Patrick B. And if you're not watching this live, another friendly reminder, watch our live shows on Thursday Night Football.